Welcome to the Lovestead.
Hello, welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica and this is a vlog. I've been loving getting back to vlogging and making videos. Like, this hobby really does fill me up and energize me so much, and I'm glad that I've been able to carve out more time for it here. It's been really fun. Anyway, it is Saturday, January 13th, and the weather outside is weather. We've gotten 24 inches of snow in the past week, which we get a lot of snow in Iowa. It's not unusual for it to snow, but this much at once is a little bit unusual. It's a little bit record breaking for us. So I'm going to be staying home today. The roads are impassable and there's a tow ban, and I don't want to get stuck in some stranger's house because I can't make it home. So I'm staying home. Side note, that really did happen to my dad once in Iowa. He was like a mile from our town where we lived, and it was such a bad blizzard, and their car got stuck and they had to walk half a mile to some random person's farmhouse and knock on their door and be like, "We're gonna freeze to death if you don't let us in." And he stayed the night at this random person's farmhouse, because that's what can happen here in the Midwest, at least where I live in rural Iowa, when there are blizzards and storms like this. So I don't want to experience that. I'm staying tucked in at home, people. The brain goblins are goblining a little bit. Liv at Olivia Reads a Latte calls her mental illnesses brain goblins. So I've kind of adopted that, but not doing great in my head. And I think I'm going to cope just by buckling down on the things that are meaningful to me and the things that I care about. And the things that I care about in my life are remaining employed, taking care of my animals, loving them, giving them a good life, reading books, talking about books, being a part of the bookish community, and my house. And that's about it. So I'm going to rotate between those things today. That's how I'm going to spend my day. Yeah, I'm going to grade papers for my students. I'm going to do animal chores, give my animals love, spoil the heck out of them. I'm going to read books, edit YouTube videos, film YouTube videos, plan YouTube videos, and read more books. I'm going to think about what I want to read. I'm going to gaze fondly at my bookshelves. And I'm going to work on house projects, because as you know, my house has been an ongoing project. I will say I do have one room done. Decluttered, deep cleaned. And I was looking around because my process is going to be that, like, I'm going to first declutter, deep clean, and organize the room as it is. And then I'm going to take a look around and see, okay, does there need to be any repairs? And then I'm going to be like, okay, do I need to change or add anything to make this feel more like home in this room? So I have one room, and it was decluttered, deep cleaned, no repairs really needed. And as I was looking around, I was like, this is good. I don't need to add or do anything different to it. So I'm getting there. The progress has been so slow, but it's been a huge project. And I did talk about this in a previous vlog that I'll link you to up here. But it feels good to have at least one room done. And it gives me hope that, like, maybe this can be different. Like, maybe if I keep at it, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, maybe I can get there. Maybe it's possible. That it's just been something that's been weighing so heavily on me for the past year. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep at it. So that's my plan for the day. Oh, I should probably tell you what I'm reading, huh? Let's start with audiobook. So I'll listen to this audiobook while I'm doing said chores. But it is called Outlive, The Science and Art of Longevity by Peter Attia. And it's about how to live a long life. But I think after reading the prologue of it, it's not just about living long, but living long and well. So I'm like 2% in. I started listening to it last night. The long book, or the big book that I'm reading, because I read one book over 500 pages and one book under 500 pages and rotate between the two. But The big book I'm reading is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It's downstairs. I don't want to go get it. I'm like 46% of the way through. Really loving that. Loving that. It's a slow go, though. It's one of those books where you can't speed through it. Like, you really have to read it slow and chew on the ideas and think about it a lot, which is wonderful. I love books like that. But totally opposite is the shorter book that I'm reading, which is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is book 1 in the Infernal Devices series. And I am going on a journey, a Cassandra Clare journey. Basically, I'm going on a backlist, older, popular fantasy journey this year, I feel like. I'm going to try to read through all these old, not all of them are old, but like pre-2024 fantasies that are so popular that I just haven't read. So like Cassandra Clare, Sarah J. Maas, Laini Taylor. I'm going on a journey with these series this year, I decided, because I have FOMO. So like last year I started this and I found this interactive timeline that I'm using that goes through this series in chronological order, not publication order. My brain works in chronological order. Like if I read this book, I'm not going to want to loop back and read a prequel to it. So I'm working with that interactive chronological timeline that I found online, and I can link you to it in the description box. But I read the first 3 short stories from the Bane Chronicles, and I thought they were just kind of okay. I wasn't wowed by them. I didn't even really like one of them. I just kind of forced myself to read it because it was really short. But I have started this. I'm about 60 pages in, and I'm liking it so much better than I did the short stories, which is like, thank God. I was worried after reading those short stories that I was just going to hate this book and not actually read the series, but I am enjoying it. So it's set in like the late 1800s, and there are these people called Nephilim or shadow hunters, and then there's the downworlders, which are people like werewolves, vampires, fae. The Nephilim are angels, and then there are demons. And so like the Nephilim have this institute, and their goal is to fight demons, and then they're trying to work with the downworlders is what I gather. And it was kind of alluded to that in some of the short stories that I read prior to this, that is what's going on in this world in terms of world building. But the main character here is Tessa, and Tessa, is that correct? Yeah, Tessa, Teresa or Tessa. She is kidnapped, and she's got this special power. So she gets kidnapped by some people that are trying to exploit that power, and then she gets rescued by a shadow hunter. And that's where I'm at so far. And this actually has steampunk elements. I love steampunk. I love it. I've not read very much steampunk. I've read some like short story collections that are steampunky. I love steampunk. Like, why do I not read more steampunk? This has steampunk elements. Why didn't I know this? That's what I was asking myself last night as I was reading it. Like, even if you really, I don't know if you can see it, but the cover, this little angel, that's the Clockwork Angel, it's so steampunky. So steampunky. I love that. So I'm really enjoying this. And that's the update before it gets too long. Hello, it is Thursday. Literally almost been a week since I checked in with you. The week has just been, I like to call them triage weeks. You know how in an emergency medical department you have triage where they decide which emergency to prioritize? That's kind of what the week has been like. It's been like you wake up in the morning and I think, all right, which pressing crisis do I tackle first today? And it's all fine. Like, it's all fine. It's all fine. None of it's that big of an emergency. It's just been a lot. It's just been a lot. It's been a lot of like, oh, this broke in my house and I need to call an expert. And oh, this is breaking in my car and I need to get it in. And oh, another vet appointment for this critter and another vet appointment for that critter. And covering for people at work. And, you know, lots of little crises to deal with this week. And I really haven't had time to read hardly at all. I picked up a buddy read with some of my friends at the Lair, Destinie and Chelsea, and we're reading To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers, which is a adult sci-fi novella. And I'm only like 20 pages into it. And so far I really like the sort of the commentary on environmentalism and anti-colonialism, but the sci-fi aspects of it are snooze fest. I really want to be a sci-fi girly, which is why I'm giving this a try. Like, I really want to be a sci-fi girly. And I like sci-fi that's earth-based, where it's like cloning or look at this strange creature we discovered at the bottom of the ocean. That kind of sci-fi I really enjoy. But once it gets into the spacey stuff, my brain just turns off and I start thinking about other things. Like, I just really have no interest in it. And so that seems to be consistent with this book too. I'm enjoying some of the philosophical discussions that are happening in the story, some of the character development as well. But when it comes to like what these characters are doing on their space trip, I do not care. I do not give a crap. And my brain like checks out when those parts start. I also DNF'd Outlive by Peter Attia, which was the audiobook I was listening to, because it felt like pretty biased, sometimes junk science written by a dude bro. The book itself was a mess in terms of writing, really unorganized. Like, the first third of it, like, none of that information is usable. None of it's actually applicable, especially not if you're a woman. Like, and some of the stuff that he sort of champions is not all that healthy. He does this big segment on calorie restriction and how calorie restriction can prolong life. And then he's like, but I don't actually recommend anyone do this. Okay? And then there's another section on this like very rare antibiotic substance that's only found in the volcano on a specific place on Earth. And it's not been approved for use in a lot of different things. And it's really hard to access. And he talks about how he takes it and he has some of his patients take it. And then it's like, that's also one of those moments where it's like, okay, none of us can access that. So what's the point? You know, it was kind of ticking me off, to be honest. A lot of it read like filler. None of it was actually applicable. And he doesn't mention the blue zones at all. Like, the Blue Zones was a groundbreaking book about lifespan. Not a single mention about that foundational work. So, yeah, I DNF'd it. I don't recommend it. I think it's, not to sound harsh, I think it's trash. So the next audiobook that I picked up is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I've never read an Emily Henry before. I don't know if I'll like it. You know, contemporary romance, not always my favorite. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. Picked up a sci-fi this week, fully knowing that spacey sci-fi isn't really my thing. And then I picked up a contemporary romance, fully knowing that contemporary romance is not typically my thing. what am I even doing? Like, anyway, I guess I'll give it a try. I'll read a little bit of it during barn tours today, but I'll DNF it really fast if it's not something that I like. And then physically, I'm still working on these two, The Secret History and Clockwork Angel. I'm enjoying both of these, but will I pick both of these up today? Probably not. I'm going to try to finish To Be Taught is If Fortunate and read my audiobook. So again, like what am I even doing? I don't even know. Hi, it's Friday, and I DNF'd the Becky Chambers book. Oh, goodness. Oh. So I did this as a buddy read with my friends Destiny and Chelsea, and they read it and they both gave it 4 stars. I DNF'd it at 45%. I couldn't handle the science stuff. I was zoning out and skimming past like the science stuff. So like, okay, the premise of this book is there's this astronaut team that's traveling to different planets to like do research basically on life on other planets. And that's about it. And the parts where it was like explaining the science of their spacesuits or the science behind how they get their bodies ready to go to these different planets, I just zoned out. I just couldn't deal. I just didn't care. I just didn't care. And there was a lot of that. It's like a lot of that for being a novella. And I actually skimmed through it most of the time. And then there was like the first traumatic scene. I absolutely couldn't handle it. It was super, super triggering for me. So at that point I was like, friends, I cannot deal with this book. Oh my gosh, that was just not for me in any way, shape, or form. There were some interesting ideas presented about like colonialism and exploration, and that was kind of interesting, but it did not outweigh all the other stuff that I really disliked. So I just don't think I'm going to be a sci-fi girl. Not when it comes at least to space exploration and like aliens and outer space kinds of science fiction. It's just not my thing as much as I'd like for it to be. I just can't. Now, on a better note, the Emily Henry book that I'm trying out is going well. It's actually working for me. And this one is about, I think everybody knows what this is about, but these writers, the man, Gus, writes literary fiction, and the woman, January, she writes romance. And so they meet at this lake house and challenge each other to flip-flop genres. So January has to write a lit fic, and Gus has to write a romance. And in the middle of this project, you know, they start to develop feelings for each other. What I like about it is the discussions of grief. Grief has been a huge part of my life for the past 2 years, and I'm still working through a lot of it. And I like when books describe certain kinds of trauma and loss and grief as like the before and the after. Legendborn did this really well, where there was the Bree before her mom died, and then there was the Bree after her mom died. I feel like that rings so true for me, that there was a before 2022 version of me, and now there is the after 2022 version of me, and they're pretty different people. And this beach read talks about that a little bit. January has lost her father, and she mentions a lot how, like, she and Gus knew each other in college briefly. They went to the same writing program, but she's a very different person than she was back then as a result of this traumatic event that happened in her life. And so there's like that conversation of, you know, the before and after version of you when you experience something like that. And I really like that a lot. I feel like their relationship is building naturally, like it's not insta-lovey at all. There's like a natural buildup of tension and interest, and gradually getting to know each other, gradually increasing the intimacy of their conversations and things like that. It feels very natural and it doesn't feel forced, and it's working for me so far. So sometimes reading outside of what you normally like pays off. Sometimes it doesn't, as we can see with the Becky Chambers. Now listen, Becky Chambers is a phenomenal writer. I'm not saying that she's a bad writer. She is a phenomenal writer. I just cannot do sci-fi. At least not space sci-fi. I can't do it. Happy Monday. Let's wrap up this vlog, shall we? The only thing I really have to update you on is that I finished Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I gave it 4 stars. This book worked for me, which is awesome because we had 2 DNFs prior to it, but it worked for me. The final grief scene, it wrecked me because there's so much that she said about her dad that resonated with me and my situation with my dad, and wow, that was intense. Some parts of it felt a little bit cheesy, so it didn't get a full 5, but I really liked it. It's my first Emily Henry, and I will definitely read more from Emily Henry. That's about it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the vlog. If you did, give me a like, give me a follow. All those things YouTubers are supposed to say at the end. If you just want to let me know that you're here, go ahead and leave me a beach wave emoji. And until next time, make sure to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!